everybody, and welcome to our Inspire Care 360's webinar today. We're really excited. We have a great, I was just about to say show, but we have a great program for you today. My name is Nicole Farkas. I will be your MC for today. I'm also the senior member advocate here at Inspire Care 360. And today we are very excited to have some great panelists and featured guests that are going to share some of their leadership skills and strategies that have helped them. So we've got some people. Thank you. You definitely hop on the chat. Let us know where you're from. Good afternoon. We got, let's see, Emily from Dallas. Good afternoon. Got Maria. Welcome. We've got Connecticut waving in there. Hey, Sarah. Please feel free, like I had mentioned, to just pop into the chat. Let us know where you're from. It's always fun to kind of see where everyone is from, especially during the winter months, see who's got all the snow coming their way, since it's kind of wacky. But so today our host is Tony D'Agostino, who is the founder and CEO of Inspire Care 360. And we are very excited to welcome our guest, Zakiyyah Boone from Wonderspring Early Education, as well as Regina Miller, who is the owner and executive director of Trailblazers Academy. And let's see, who else do we have? We've got some more Texans coming in. Jenny here from Wisconsin. Good afternoon, Jenny. Jasmine from Wichita, Kansas. Welcome aboard. We've got Florida popping in. We're a little jealous of you in Florida here in Western New York with the snow that we're getting. Let's see, who else is coming in? Oh, Baton Rouge, very nice. Welcome, Linda. Stella, another Texan from Houston, Texas. Welcome, we're happy to have you guys here. Let's see, Shauna, we got Shauna in Northern Nevada. I'm sure she's got some snow falling as well. Today, just wanted to mention, I will also, in addition to posting my information up here, if you have any questions, we definitely encourage you guys to put any questions you have in the Q&A section at the bottom of your screen. This is if you have questions about a conversation going on, or just questions in general that you have for Tony, or you have for Zakiyyah or Regina. Please, this webinar is for you. And we want to make sure that any questions you might have are completely answered. If you are on this and in need of CEU credits or hours, Sarah will shortly post a link that you can fill out to receive the IASET CEU credits for the webinar. Let's see, who else do we have? Come on, don't be shy, people. For those of you just joining, my name is Nicole Farkas. I will be your MC for today. We're really excited to have you on board for our leadership seminar and panel. Let's see, Maria from Lansing, Michigan. My family's from Lansing, Michigan. Welcome. Oh, sorry, Zakiyyah. I apologize for that. Thank you. Let's see, Caitlin from Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Where else do we have some people popping in? Again, I do like to say, please don't be shy. Use the Q&A as we're going through the webinar. We love to have questions from you guys. We love to have even comments in the comment box. Let's see, we've got more people popping in here. So welcome. Sarah just posted the information, that the link for you guys to get your certificate for your hours. And so as the screen says, hello, my name is Nicole Farkas, and I am the senior member advocate here at Inspire Care 360. And I'm here to not only answer questions for you, but to just kind of add some comments as we go along. And I will also post my contact information, which is right there, my email, but I will also post it in the chat towards the end of the webinar. If you do have questions or just comments in general, please feel free to reach out to me. That is what I'm here for. See, we've just got someone popping in from Folsom, Pennsylvania. Welcome, Christy. Nice to have you on board. And if you do miss, as we move along, if you do miss the link for the certificate to get your hours, don't worry, Sarah will repost that several times throughout the webinar so that you have access to that. All right. So basically today, what we're going to be talking about, we're going to do a little housekeeping, some introductions, little introduction on our panelists, which thank you so much, Regina and Zakiyyah, for participating in this today and being our panelists. We're excited to talk to you and find out what's your success in leadership. And then we'll also touch a little bit about what Inspire Care 360 is all about. So again, I do like to stress, and you're going to hear me mention this, definitely use the Q&A section. This webinar is for you, and we want you to get the most out of it. So if you have any questions, please feel free to post them in the Q&A, or if you just want to put them in the chat, that's fine as well. But we encourage your participation. And again, like I had mentioned, if you are seeking a CEU certificate, Sarah will be looking for the link, and she had mentioned if anyone's looking at that, you can message her as well, and she's happy to send that certificate link your way. But that way you get credit for the hour during our webinar. You will be seeing shortly Tony D'Agostino, who is the founder and CEO of Inspire Care 360. Not only is he our fearless leader over here on this side of the world, but he also is the owner and operator of 3 early learning schools here in Western New York. So we are on both sides of the fence here. Tony, we're happy to have you here, and welcome.
Well, thank you very much, Nicole. It's if we've never talked before today.
No,
So,
never.
never. Thank you so much for emceeing up front. You always do an amazing job and welcoming all of our audience members. And I know we're going to continue to have some people come on. So I'll take the baton from here, Nicole. And Nicole will be available again in the back chat for all of you, that if you are interested in having any kind of questions answered, you'll see some information come through the chat. We do use the Q&A again instead of the chat when asking a question, just so we can decipher that. Today, I'm really excited about this with Zakiyyah and Regina, 2 wonderful people. We'll be introducing them in just a couple minutes, but we are ready to get going. So this is being recorded, and this will also be reproduced. One of the things that is actually very interesting in what we are now doing, and it is just starting, you'll see some announcements in the coming weeks, all of our webinars that we've held, and we've had well over 40 webinars over the past 2 to 3 years, we have processed those into becoming podcasts. So those podcasts are going to be available to the general public off of many of the main podcast playing areas, from Apple, as well as Spotify, as well as some of your favorite podcast platforms. So you might say, well, I'm not exactly sure what's really the difference between a webinar and a podcast. Well, webinars, the value of them, you get to see them possibly live like this, where we're just doing it right now. And you have a chance to possibly ask questions, sort of like a Q&A just popped up right there, and have an opportunity to get some direct response. The challenge is we are so busy in this industry. I know from my directors, my regional directors, myself, we put a lot of time into our schools, and it oftentimes is challenging to either watch or pay attention to a comprehensive webinar. And so what we've done is we've taken the recordings of these webinars and we've now produced them to a podcast, which means that if you subscribe to our podcast channel, which will be coming, Sarah might be able to send out something on that today, but we're not probably ready for prime time yet on that. And that would then allow you, just that whenever we have new podcasts, they will get downloaded to your library, allowing you to then go in when you want to and listen. So whether you're taking a walk, whether you're in your car, whether you're on a trip, You can download those and then you can listen to them start and stop at will, like any other podcast. So we really hope that there's additional value for you for that. And it's our objective for us to bring very timely topics and things that you want to hear back. So please, in the chat, do not hesitate to make suggestions saying, I'd love to hear about this topic. You know, we've done a lot of conversations on recruiting and retention. Recently, we're talking about leadership development. We've talked about performance management. So a lot of things around the people side of the business. We do have expertise in a number of different areas, but we'd like to hear mainly from you. That's why we've brought some panelists on today who are peers of you. And we're very happy to have you. So we're going to go in to do some of our housekeeping. What's our housekeeping? Well, it helps us pay the bills a bit. Some of you have heard about Healthy Advantage. You know, realistically, as I've been in this industry now for probably about 14 years, and the time I've spent in this industry, one of the biggest challenges has been, how do you provide a healthcare solution for our staff, our administration, and even for ourselves as owner operators? How do we do something that's reasonable? You know, major medical is just so out of whack, not reasonable price-wise. You have high premiums, you have high deductibles. Even if you have staff members who do take you up on major medical, if you can afford to offer that, you have the challenges that they sometimes have such high deductibles, they don't use it. They're like, you know, I have to satisfy $6,000 before I actually go to a doctor where it gets paid for. I'm not going to use it. That's sort of ludicrous. And it is also another challenge too, that if you happen to have more than 50 FTEs, full-time equivalents, then you are mandated by the Affordable Care Act that came out several years before that you must provide a qualified healthcare plan. What we did is we spent a couple years really researching and developing a very comprehensive healthcare plan to hopefully solve that conundrum that we have in our industry. This is Healthy Advantage. This is the solution that now we've had multiple members take us up on, and even non-members to IC360 have been able to take advantage of. The program is about 5 different healthcare programs that your staff can choose from. So it's not like they just get one that they have. They can choose from multiple. By the way, you can also keep a major medical program in addition to offering this program. The programs go anywhere from a telemedicine program that you as an owner operator can offer your staff to the other programs that the individuals get to choose, from a basic all the way to an ultimate program. With the ultimate program, for instance, they have very flexible and affordable programs, from not only the premiums where it starts per paycheck around $11.50, but goes up to about $30 for the ultimate, or for an entire family around $90 a paycheck, much less expensive than a major medical program. But what it offers is for the owners to pay a very small fixed fee compared to paying almost half of a premium. So for your first 50 or first 10 employees, it's $50 per employee, and then $25 after that. Super flexible, like we talked about. They have a choice to choose from 5 separate programs. But like with the ultimate program, this is right from $1, no deductible at all. $15 office visits, $15 specialist visits, unlimited for a year. So for instance, if you or a child of yours has to go to the ENT a number of times, or you have to go to, you know, an orthopedic or something of that nature, and you know you're going to have a number of visits, it's only $15 to visit them over and over and over again. But then you have such as lab, x-rays, medications, all different other programs. For instance, using urgent care on there is $50. With major medical, it's typically $150. All the programs also come with telemedicine too. That means that the subscriber of that program also has full access to doctors 24/7 around the clock. And it's easily implementable because you don't have to figure out yourself. Our team comes in, we do the census, we make sure that we have the right amount of coverage in your area. We make sure we do the education of all the staff. We then gather all the information, and anybody who wants to join, we actually create the payroll requirement as to who's going to have what taken out of their paycheck for it. So we manage it all for you. It is again compliant with the Affordable Care Act, which Part A is a real expensive one. Part B is pretty much if they go to the exchange, that there can be a bill back, but we still haven't seen that yet. We do need about a month and a half before it can be up and running. So if you are interested, please put in the chat to Nicole, hey, I'm interested in Healthy Advantage. Could you just get a hold of me? Send her an email. She'd be more than happy in getting you set up with one of our business development people to talk you through that. So that is Healthy Advantage. Another thing that we introduced last week, and actually at the beginning of January, is peak performance for our members. Peak performance is a very interesting approach. We have decided to offer this at no additional charge at this point in time for our membership. What this is to automate a bit the process and simplify the process of setting expectations, having your team members go through what is important for their competency development, and then how to measure them and reward them. So if we look at the program, how it works is you have basically this road here, which is a bit of a roadmap in the sense that it's a journey. And you have teams oftentimes that may have lack of expectations, lack of training, lack of cohesiveness, and lack of culture. So they're really not engaged. Maybe though you have some basic training for them to develop beyond compliance training, some expectations, basic mentoring, so they become somewhat engaged. But the objective is really to get them over here to this uniform achievement, acting like a team, aligned values and conductive, and how they conduct themselves. So it's really about getting your team fully engaged where they're all working at the same level together. We focus on these 6 C areas down here that are yours, not ours. It's the compliance that you require. It's the code of conduct that you require. It's your core values. It is your curriculum, both for what they're teaching the children, as well as curriculum you have an expectation for them to go through. It's as well as you creating a career ladder internally and culture. What this does is it's aligned to develop your teammates' characters. It's built for all new as well as your well-tenured staff. It is systematized, so there's very low director and management involvement. You set it up as simply as checking a box that you want individuals to participate, and they automatically start to participate. And we have our membership advocate who walks you along and holds your hand all the way through it to make sure you get the best experience out of it. And also there's levels that can be voluntary so people can get rewards. So you don't have to invest the money for paying for a lot of training and development and on the job hours. These are things that also can be fortified with different rewards we could talk more about. And again, it runs your team's ongoing performance management. So instead of having to make sure you're doing expectations up front and you hope to have a performance review after 6 months and you hope to do another one at the end of the year, this sort of helps you make your whole team get on board all the way through and get you there all together. That is peak performance. So let's move on to what we're also talking about today. Developing leadership skills. Simon Sinek says, leadership is not about being in charge. Leadership is about taking care of those in your charge. It's very interesting, the thought about that. And the reason I say that is because quite often we think and sometimes confuse leadership with management. We think that, well, yes, I am a leader. And for that reason, I tell people what to do. I tell them what they need to achieve. I tell them that. If you're telling people, you are not leading. You are pushing them in front of you to push them down the road, and you're sort of the one who's driving them forward by telling them what to do. Leadership is really that. It's leading. It's not only leading by example, it is empowering your teammates. It's setting up expectations. It is then holding people accountable to what you can mutually agree upon. It's also a solution that really looks at how do you keep people really happy within your environment. Let's use a little bit of an example. So Some of you who saw some of the peak performance one may remember this slide because it is a key element of setting expectations. What has been your leadership style? Have you been using stick, or have you been using carrot? And what we talk about with stick is when you're telling people what to do. This means that whether you are an owner or a director, and let's say at the end of the day, you have a line of people outside of your office going, okay, what would you like me to do? What would you like me to do? Do you want me to mop the floors? Do you want me to clean up? Do you want me to go down to the kitchen? All that stuff means that people are not empowered. That when they're asking you what they need to do, we've created a model where they're interdependent on you. Okay, that means they have not been empowered. It's also sometimes seen as punishment for not accomplishing tasks. And what we mean by that is, quite often when you look at how you lead people, it's easy to get after them when they haven't achieved something. I need you to be sure to be in and punched in because I need you to do breaks. I need you by 1 o'clock. Okay. They don't come in all of a sudden. It's sort of like, okay, you know what? I know you're asking for time off on Friday. I might not be able to allow you to have that time off because of the situation that you're not coming back on time. That's a punishment, right? We are using a stick to say you didn't achieve your goal. It also leads to difficult conversations. That is, those are the kind of conversations where they're sort of friction based, right? It's the kind of thing where I have to tell you a negative and then the person's going to respond negatively. And you're afraid to have that conversation because you don't want them to walk off the job, which is something that could even happen today. So you're really like, how do I turn that around so people don't feel threatened, yet I still get them to do the things that they need to do so we can all move forward together. So you do risk losing staff when you're using that stick type of approach. I would tend to say more than ever today. We have a generation of staff workers that have, to a small degree, gotten a little bit of a raw deal with the whole generation being encompassed with it. But there is something significant there that, if they don't see or feel like a quality of life, they don't feel like they really belong, they will quickly move on. And if they feel like they're not being addressed towards their expectations, they will move on quickly. As to carrot is incentivizing your team. It's sort of saying, hey, what is out there to get there and what is important? To do that, you really need to know not just your whole team, but your individual team members. What empowers them? What is really something that allows them to get to the next level? And if you explain what we're trying to achieve, most people will get it. They'll understand. And then you talk to them about how do they see themselves achieving the goal, as to you telling them how to achieve the goal. Sometimes that leads to them making mistakes. But you know what? I'd rather have someone learn through empowerment where they're going to make a couple mistakes and we can do some corrective things together through coaching than for me to keep on telling people what they have to do and telling them that they're wrong or they're right. I'd rather have someone make some mistakes, come back and say, hey, that didn't work for me, or I had a conversation that didn't work out, and in turn, a parent got mad or upset. Well, that's okay. What did you learn from it? What is it that you're going to do different next time as to what you're going to do? Because they will remember that. They will remember that and they will build that into their own DNA. It also allows them to volunteer to help move the company forward, to move your schools forward. So they are looking out for the best interest of everybody, including their teammates and the school. It allows you to hold them accountable as to them saying, this is what I want to accomplish. Okay, great. What time frame can you do it in? If they're outlandish and they're like, well, it's going to take me a year. Well, no, we need a closer time frame. You can understand why, what we're trying to achieve here. Well, I can do it tomorrow. Can you really accomplish all that tomorrow? So helping coach them into the right kind of time frames, but it still allows them to be accountable. And it is focused on building your team and retention for belonging. So when you look at why telling instead of empowering ideology, again, that whole telling thing is about this is what's required. It needs to be managed. You must participate. You have to do this. It's very low motivation for the individual, and it can feel like it's a burden. As to that empowerment, letting the staff sort of choose why they want to do it and also how they're going to be rewarded for it too, within parameters that work for you. And the staff have control a bit, not only of their job roles, but possibly if you start to develop a career ladder of how they can start to develop themselves to get to the next level. This is really the focus of what is leadership. So staff self-align to the school's goals and objectives, and that helps them feel rewarded. So with that said, let's wait no further. Let's go ahead and let's have our two wonderful guests come on board. Zakiyyah, I'd love you to join us, and same with Regina. If you want to come on video and audio. Zakiyyah, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Let me just get this out the way. It's Zakiyyah.
Zakiyyah, I'm sorry.
It's Zakiyyah. It's Zakiyyah Boone. It's a pleasure to join you today.
Thank you so much, Zakiyyah. Well, my Zakiyyah is no longer. So, but you have to pronounce my last name now. No, I'm just kidding. So, so anyhow, and Regina, how are you?
I'm wonderful. Glad to be here. Glad to be here.
Well, I'm glad to have Zakiyyah and Regina with us today. So today we talked up front a little bit about when it comes to leadership and development. What I'd like to do is, Zakiyyah, I'd like to start with you and ask you a question. All right. When you think about just the concept of leadership, what really comes to your mind?
The first thing that comes to my mind when I think about the concept of leadership is service. So being in a leadership role automatically means that I'm responsible to serve those that I lead.
And when you say serve, that's obviously a broad category. It's easily to think about, the term a servant leadership.
Absolutely.
Which is very important. When you say serve that, there's people out there go, yeah, I love to serve my staff, but there's stuff they got to get done too. So categorize serve for me a little bit.
Yep. So for me, service means it's my responsibility to make sure that everyone on my team has everything they need to do what I need them to do. Because I have to believe in my heart, no one wakes up in the morning and says, oh, I'm going to go to work today and do a terrible job. The reason why things are not getting done is because those on my team obviously don't have the resources to do what needs to be done. So it's my responsibility to make sure that they have everything they need so they can do what needs to be done.
Absolutely.
That's how I serve them.
That is wonderful. And I appreciate you giving a further definition, because I know we hear about it a lot, but sometimes we don't know what that exactly means. Regina, when you think of leadership, what not only does it mean to you, but what have you observed to be, outside of yourself, what have you observed to be good leadership?
I think a good leader sees potential in others and takes their self away from the equation and really pour into that person. Because as we all know, none of us last forever, but our industry will. And we want to always leave it better than we found it. So every encounter that I have, I look for value. And sometimes it's a diamond in the rough, but I find it. That's what I think of leadership.
Well, that's wonderful. And when you start saying, looking for that diamond in the rough, when you're looking at leaving a better world than how you found it, and also
Yes.
sort of that investment in others, not only do I love that, but tell me a little bit of what are sort of the things that you identify that you go, I see potential in this individual, and I see an opportunity to develop them, or want to see how I can enhance what they're currently doing.
For me, I have to start off by saying I've been in childcare for 46 years. So I've seen a lot. And I label myself an old goose, okay?
Well, you just started when you were 12, I'm sure, so.
Oh, no. So what I would like to kind of convey here today is that when you have an employee that is what I call green, and what a green employee looks like is she or he is the person that's always in your face. And you sometimes think of that person as, oh my God, I wish they'd go away for a moment, just for a moment. That person is actually admiring you. That person actually sees something in you that they want to learn. And you have an opportunity and an obligation. I use that word obligation loosely, but I mean it. You have an obligation to kind of grow that. Find out what it is that that person wants from you. How can I help you? Watch and observe how they teach. If they're asking for extra duties, like, hey, are you going to go grab lunch? I can take the phone for you while you're gone. You might have a manager there. You know, you just don't turn a deaf ear to the person who seems like she's always in your way. And I've found my best people that way. The ones that were supposed to be off and they'll stay around and say, oh, Miss Regina, I just don't want to leave you. What can I do for you? And I'm like, but I can't pay you. Oh, no, but listen, I just want to be here. No, I'll see you tomorrow. But then when the next day comes, I look for an opportunity to grow that person. You know, maybe give them a little
All
small
right,
chance.
Zakiyyah, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Here we go. Okay, very good. I froze there for just a second, but I know everybody else got to hear that. And that was
Freezing again.
Yes, Tony, you're freezing again.
And Zakiyyah, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. I'm hoping
Okay.
that the audience can hear the two of us.
Yes.
Yes.
It
What
sounded
I'm-
like Tony was going to ask another question.
Well, Tony's unfreezing. I think what he was going to say, Zakiyyah, is, you know, do you have anything to comment on in regard to what Regina said in your experience working in our industry?
Absolutely. I was just going to say that identifying
that was
and
wonderful when it comes down
cultivating
to identifying.
potential.
Listen, when you look for in your staff.
Uh-oh. Uh-oh.
We're back. Sorry, ladies. I'm not
That's
sure.
okay.
But I was asking the question and it may have gotten answered, it may not have. I was asking Zakiyyah, what
I was just adding that I definitely feel like it's absolutely, I agree with Regina, an obligation to identify and to grow potential within your organization, within your community, not even just my employees, just others that I encounter. It's my responsibility to pay forward everything that was poured into me. And as leaders like Regina, who's 46 years, I only have 26 years, right? So as she pours into me, it's my responsibility to take that and pour it into the next generation of leaders.
Mm.
Oh, absolutely wonderful. I love hearing that. And Zakiyyah, let me ask you a little bit. When you think about developing leaders, I looked at, yes, you're going to invest in others. What is it, some of the things, if you were to say to other owner operators out there, these are the things that I'm actually looking for in people that I want to invest in? What are some characteristics?
So for me, it is hard work, because for me, hard work beats talent all day. So it's not just a person has a natural talent, you know, with children, or a natural talent with families. No, someone who's willing to work to consistently improve their skill. I look for that in leaders. That's number one. Number two, I look for someone who is willing to be kind, who has a high deal of integrity.
Yes.
And because that kindness and empathy allows relationship building, which is transferable outside of any industry. So not just childcare, not just nonprofits, which
Right.
Wonderspring is, any industry, you need empathy to be able to build relationships with others. That's the leadership skill. You need kindness to know what to say and how to say it. That's the leadership skill. In order to establish credibility, you need integrity. You need to be able to do what is right when no one is looking. You need
right.
grit. When the going gets tough, the tough needs to get going. And so like all of those are leadership skills, not necessarily what a person can do in the classroom or those specific talents, but I look for any of those skills and I develop them in order to create the next generation of leaders. Uh-oh, is Tony frozen again?
Oh,
I think he may be.
Because his face is completely
Yeah,
stone
either
on my
that or he's in
screen.
deep thought. So, Regina, do you have, while we're waiting for him to unfreeze, do you have any comments on what Zakiyyah just said?
I think she so eloquently put it in place where I can't even add like a tad bit to it. It's perfect. I just want to remind those that are seeking a leadership position to know that it's not about who follows you, but who comes behind you. You know, like who's going to be that next leader that take on a next group. Oh,
No, that's
wow.
very powerful statement. You know, Tony was touching upon, because leadership is so valuable. And I love how both of you were talking about, you know, it's being observant and listening to what your staff is saying. And Regina, I love the comment on, you know, when that person asks you for more responsibility, don't brush it aside. I mean, that could be your future leader, whether it's director of tours, or, you know, director of education, or just directors in general. I mean, it's finding those individuals who are going to be your A players and not your seat fillers, right?
Right.
Do you guys have any other, you know, comments? And I mean, leadership is such a powerful tool. And we did have one person that had mentioned, when, you know, initiating leadership, they had asked the question of, you know, what's the difference between giving them the guidance and, you know, an empowerment versus having them feel a sense of entitlement, you know, that they feel that they, you know, I've been here for 5 years and I deserve this. I mean, what's something that you would recommend? I mean, I'd love, you know, Regina, since you're unmuted, if you wanted to take that first, and Zakiyyah, obviously you both will probably have different answers to that. You know, we'd love to hear your input on, because we all hear it, right? I deserve a raise, or I deserve this, but it's okay. That's great. But how do we get them there, you know, by earning it?
Well, I always go back to my own story. I was an eager young girl that thought I could just run the world. And I had a director who was my mentor that said, no, you're not ready. And that always sticks with me when someone comes to me for entitlement, whether that be for a title change or a pay raise. I always put the ball back in their court. And this, I recommend to every leader on the webinar today that's listening. If you ask the person to list you in bullet points or even in a letter, why they deserve the raise, you'll soon find that I've had applicants or employees come back to me and say, you know, Miss Miller, maybe I'm not ready for that because I didn't do all the talking. Sometimes as leaders, we want to be the big cuddler. And we don't want to lose someone like Tony was saying in his intro. But you have to be willing to take fear and just let it through. Because I'm not afraid of the person who's going to walk out because they didn't get a raise. They weren't fit for the team anyway. Because we're going a long way. We're going all the way the whole 9 yards. So if you're only on yard 6 and you're talking about quitting because you've been here 6 months and you think you deserve a raise, then you're not fit for what we might go through. Now, notice I said grow, not go, grow, GROW, because we're going to grow. What we might grow through that would get you that raise, but you're not willing to pull in the work. So I can't have someone on the team that thinks self-entitled. That just doesn't work for Regina Miller, and anybody who's worked for me will tell you that you don't get it just because you walk in and say, well, I need $3 by Friday, extra an hour, or I'm leaving. I will be the first to tell you it was nice knowing you, and I wish you all the best, because that's not going to work for me or any other employer. And sometimes people have to go away and discover that that's just not life. But ask them to write down why they are feeling the way they feel? Why do they feel like they deserve this raise? And what would it contribute to the company? That's my biggest question. You know, I'm the one that's signing the paycheck. So tell me, what would your raise do to enhance Trailblazers' growth ability? So,
You know, I love that. And Zakiyyah, before you jump in, I want to just take that one more step further. And, you know, when you come up with, you know, that listening and, you know, actually hearing what your staff is saying, how does your staff respond to that? I mean, what is their response to, oh my gosh, she's actually listening to what I have to say, and that I do have aspirations and goals, and it may not be traditional, but this is what I want to be, the best 4-year-old teacher ever. Great. Or I want to be a director. You know, how do they feel when you actually, you know, they realize that you're listening to what they have to say?
It's empowerment in itself. I think empowerment is when you put someone else's aspirations on their own plate and say, hey, I'm going to help you get here, but it won't happen tomorrow. It didn't happen yesterday for Miss Regina. It took a lot of years. And, you know, I have people say, well, I want to be in it as long as you. I just don't know that I'm committed like that. And I said, well, that's something that you and yourself will have to decide. However, while you're here, be the best that you can be. No one has to stay 46 years, but while you're here, do the very best that you can do. For me, it's been God sent. It's been always been my dream to be in childcare, and I've never thought of going anyplace else. However, that's not for everyone. So I always have my employees understand that I see you, and if your goal is not to stay in childcare, then be the very best while you're here, and let me help you get to the next step of where you're going. But that's the consultant in me, because I also own a consulting company.
Awesome.
That's great. Yeah,
I
Zakiyyah, jump in.
agree.
Let's hear your thoughts on that.
I definitely agree that listening, the raise conversation always comes up. I definitely agree that listening and giving staff an opportunity to be heard is important, because we all want to be heard, because that's a sign of respect, right? So that's number one, definitely listen. But at Wonderspring, we really try to stay in front of that problem by being very transparent about the reality of our financial situation.
Good.
So a person asking for a raise presumes that there's this pot of money over here that we are just unwilling to share with them. That is just not true. It's just completely not true. So by being transparent about, hey, everyone, here is where we are financially. Here is how much we would like to pay you. In order to get there, we have to enroll 20 more kids, 30 more kids, 50 more kids. And with the revenue that we earn from those additional slots, we will increase your pay by 50 cents, $5, $500, whatever it is. Just being transparent about that helps to kind of give employees a feeling of being in on things. So they know there's not this big pot of money over here that I'm hiding for my secret trip to Tahiti.
Right? That money tree in the back, right?
Yeah.
I'll give you a super quick example. And at Wonderspring, we have a mission support office of administrators. So I'll give you a quick example. Our chief human resources officer, our senior director of human resources wants to be promoted to chief human resources officer or chief people officer. So she and I had the conversation about exactly where we were financially, how we need to grow our revenue. We can change your title tomorrow. Let's just go to the board committee and change your title if it's just a title change, no problem, because that also is important in career progression. So if she wants to have that title promotion on her resume, let's do it. But like, how many more kids do we need to have? What's our plan to expand and grow? How we're going to get there? So she knows exactly what she has to help us do in order to get what she wants out of the deal. So the what's in it for me, when I'm telling her we need more teachers, she knows I'm not just saying that just to say that. She knows there's a personal benefit to her own career if we're able to hire those additional teachers.
Right.
So having those transparent conversations, I really believe in being a very transparent and authentic leader, but having those conversations then gives employees power because they feel
Yes.
they know what's going on. There's no us and them. There's no
Yeah.
secrets to hide. So
That's right.
that's my
That's right.
leadership style.
It
That's
gives them a
right.
sense of ownership too.
Mhm.
Exactly.
They feel-
Exactly.
Is that feedback that you get from the staff where they're like, oh, okay, I get it now. There isn't that money. to it.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly. Another super quick example. I conduct listening tours with my staff just so they know as their leader, I am listening directly to what it is that they have to say. So I meet with staff quarterly, different staff around the organization quarterly, just to hear what their experiences, what their pain points are. One of the staff persons suggested to me that as the leader, I should be in each classroom in the organization. We have about 80 classrooms across the entire organization. They feel that I should be in each classroom in the organization at least once a week. Whew. So what that said to me was, I haven't been transparent enough about what my responsibilities are if my
Yes.
teachers think I have that kind of time. I don't.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
giving them a feeling of being in on things, giving them more information to shift that expectation so that it's much more realistic.
Yes.
They literally said, oh, now I get it. Now I understand why you're not here every week.
Yeah, right. Now we have Laverne that asked a question,
That's a
and
good one.
that how do you step into a leadership role when the leaders don't respect you enough to pass the baton?
Whoa. That is a real, Zakiyyah, I'm gonna take it real quick now, let you finish it.
Mhm.
That is a real tough one to journey through. But I want to say to the person who just been promoted, congratulations, and don't give up your baton. The person that has been, I don't know if that person's still in the facility. That's kind of hard to answer, but I will tell that person that if you are the new leader, you have to exercise your skills. Be the very best that you can be. Let the staff see you and your style. What I always say about people who have a hard time letting go is eventually their fingers get tired. Because if she's a great leader, like she has to be promoted, her time will come and she will shine. I just think that that's a tough situation to be in, and probably running and telling the board or whoever else, the owner, that this person won't let go won't help very much. But I would take notes, and I would see like if there's any sabotaging going on. But you hang in there because you've accomplished something, and you can't let this one person be the reason that you turn back.
For sure.
That's
For sure.
wonderful. Zakiyyah, do you
For
have
sure.
anything you'd like to
I
add?
would. I have personally been in that situation. And so playing to that leader's ego, the leader who's unwilling to pass the baton, playing to their ego is the inroad for them because they're unwilling to pass the baton because that baton is their power.
That's
And
right.
so they cannot give up their power. Who wants to give up their power? So giving them a spotlight, if you will, to showcase their power is the way to get your way in so that you're given more responsibility to do just that. And so I'll give you just a quick example of that. When I was in that situation, I had a leader who was, this was way back when maybe about in 2004 or 5, when I had a leader who really did not want to allow me any leeway to show other teachers how to implement a new curriculum into their classroom when it was my responsibility to do so. It was literally on my job description. She wanted to come in because she knew everything and she had more years of experience than me, and you're not going to be able to do this, but it was my responsibility to do so. So what I did was I started to make sure all the materials were copied and printed. This is back in the day, okay? So we weren't digitally sharing content at that time. I made sure all the materials were copied and printed. I made sure that I had sample follow-up supplemental material to go along with her presentations. So like now I'm making her look good. Now she's giving me that responsibility to do because I'm making her look good. That was the way that I got in. So slowly but surely, she began to give me more things to do to make me look good. And pay raises came along with it because it was more responsibility. So I just had to play to that. That's what I mean by being kind. I could have been very nasty. I could have
That's
been
right.
very, oh, I'm not going to work here. I'm not going to help you. I'm not going to support you because you're stepping on my toes. But it was more important for me to be kind in that place because it got me much
That's right.
further along where I wanted to go.
That's right.
That's
right.
wonderful. You know, we've got, you know, a little bit of time left, and from the comments, people are just loving your open dialogue. So I'd love to continue that. I do want to just mention to everyone, Tony is sorry he lost internet.
Oh,
And we're laughing because I was panicking being in Western New York and getting smacked with a snowstorm.
right.
I
It's
thought
no.
I was going to be the one in trouble, and turns out the guy in Florida lost his internet. But he does he does apologize, everyone, for him hopping off there. But I'd love to continue this open dialogue. One of the biggest things that I love to hear, and when I'm meeting with, you know, whether it's early learning or whether it's, you know, dealing with the older children, stories, you know, stories are big ways of, you know, getting through and talking to people, and, you know, especially when it comes to leadership. So
Mhm.
Regina, I'd love, you know, let's start with you. Tell me, you know, tell us a story that kind of sticks out in your head of where it was like that aha moment for you on leading your team and leading your staff so that they can then lead others and so on and so forth.
Just one?
If we can bounce, it's all good when you're done.
No.
We can
Okay,
Zakiyyah
so
and come back to you. You've got a few, you know, just a couple of years in the industry.
Okay, so for me, I worked for corporate America for a while, and then in 2009, opened my own Trailblazers Academy. And for some reason, that year, 2009, stuck out to me like, I don't know if it was, I don't know the right words, ladies, but I'm going to find them for you, because it was almost like I went to bed an employee, I woke up the next day a business owner. That's the only way I can explain it to you. Now I had to find and take with me a team. And granted, I know a lot of people, and a lot of people know me, so applications were not the problem. My daughter passed away January 16th, 2021. So, 22, guys. So bear with me when I talk about her, and I'll try not to lose my composure. But Helen and I went
It's a safe
together,
space,
and
Regina.
yeah, we went together and decided that we were just going to go big, and just so we opened a building for 188 children. We needed 32 staff. Now, grabbing 32 staff, some of the folks I already knew, and then rebuilding a new team for me as a leader showcased, and my daughter says to me, bless her soul, Mom, I saw the strongest part of your leadership during that time, because now I'm putting my vision, I'm putting my dream, I'm putting all my money into someone else's hands. And it's not a great uncle in the background with all this green money that he throws down at me. It's make or break for me and my husband. And so envisioning, giving my dream to a group of ladies and men, and telling these folks, hey, this is what I want to see Trailblazers do. And yeah, I'm gonna lose it on you. And seeing that 14 years later, it's a reality in an award-winning school, I knew then that leadership matters. I always knew leadership mattered, but leadership truly matters, because you have to take what is in here and give it to someone to work it for you. And folks always say to me, Miss Regina, you make it look easy. I've had many clients say, I opened my childcare center because you made it look so easy, but now I'm failing. And I'm like, you're not failing, you hit a rough spot. And that's where you have to dig in both heels and say, I'm gonna stay no matter the course. So back to your question, I know I got off course there. For me, leadership was about empowering other folks to know that it was just not about Regina's dream, but bring me your dream too, because I'm going to sprinkle in a little of your dream to help my dream work. And then we're both going to grow, because it's not just about me. It's about all of us, every single one of us who get in a car and come here every day. This building is us. the families we serve. Sorry. Well,
Thank you so much for sharing. What an amazing story behind what you do, Miss Regina.
Truly, it is. And so I'm kind of like not saying anything because I'm a little speechless here.
I
It's
want
hard
you,
to
girl.
top that one, Zakiyyah, but you know, I
Oh,
apologize
that's what
for
it's
my
all
dog.
about.
He Amazon guy just got here. So
Oh,
the trials and tribulations of working from home, right? But
Yes,
no,
for sure.
what a beautiful story, and so true. You know, sometimes those leadership skills pop up when you least expect it, and you
yes,
didn't even know you had the strength or
yes,
had those skills. So thank you so much
yes.
for sharing that story. And
Yeah.
you know,
Absolutely true. Absolutely true.
I know I
I
hate
would
to
only
pass the
add,
baton on that, Zakiyyah, but let's
yeah,
hear
no,
something
I
from
would
you.
only add, that I became the CEO at Wonderspring in April of 2020.
Congratulations.
So like we all know what a fun time it
Yeah,
was, the
that
childcare
was.
program in April of 2020.
Because there wasn't a
Okay.
pandemic going on or
Right.
anything
There was
crazy
this
like that.
thing called a pandemic. And I'm all of a sudden the CEO of this organization. I all of a sudden have 150 staff counting on me to make sure that they keep their paychecks, to make sure that
That's right.
that I keep the organization from going bankrupt.
Yep.
I have the board counting on me to come up with ways to get us back into getting our centers open. Like it was just absolutely a true test of my leadership. And just being the leader that I am, what I did throughout the entire time we were closed during the pandemic, I just started talking to people. I literally emailed my staff, every single staff person, every single day throughout the entire time we were closed during the pandemic. So they knew they were going to get some kind of inspiration from me, whether it was a funny video of me trying to make a mask out of a sock when we first started making our own masks at home,
Right.
or whether it was an inspiration about an experience between a family and their children, or whether it was something to help them improve their technical skills in the classroom.
Mhm.
Every single day, I communicated with my staff. Why? Because they needed to get to know me as the leader, and I needed to build their confidence in me because they didn't know me. I'd only been there for 6 months when this
Mhm.
happened, and so they had to get to know me. And so that's what leadership is all about: is doing what needs to be done for whom it needs to be done.
That's right.
And
That's right.
making it happen, getting results, putting yourself aside. Was I scared? Of course.
Oh, yeah.
Just had to be brave in the face of that fear because I had people counting on me. And so that's really what leadership is all about, and it's very
Mhm.
important.
Yeah, it's not just getting your toes wet, right? You got to jump right in the deep end. Well, we've got about 5 minutes left, and I know I'm loving these stories, and from the comments, I mean, Miss Regina, someone just said you are such a blessing to so many. And you know, for you, Zakiyyah, they made a laugh saying that you were a COVID CEO. I'm sure a lot of people can relate to that.
For sure.
You know, we all have our COVID stories, right?
Yes.
But as you know, as we kind of close up today, I'd love any last thoughts or, things that you say, if you could pass on one, tidbit of information or a little jewel to, some of our other owners and directors and leaders out there that you feel, if you were to pass the baton or something to that, what would be that jewel that you would say to them? Regina, why don't you go ahead? And
The first thing I would tell them is to practice self-care. Your health is your wealth, and you're no good to this organization, your organization, if you're not healthy, and that's both physically and mentally. And be aware of little times where you might feel a little burnout. Doesn't mean you quit. it means you take a time out. You just rest your body. And
Mhm.
being busy is not productive. I tell people that all the time in my coaching. You don't need to be busy the entire 12 hours that your center is open, but you can be productive. And so I say that for yourself and for your team, make sure you practice self-care. The last thing I would say is to follow your passion, because when you have a passion for something, it doesn't feel like work. And when people ask me all the time, oh my goodness, how'd you last so long in childcare? Because this is my passion, it doesn't feel like a job to me. Now, if you ask me to go do something different today, I might moan and groan and tell you that I don't like this place. But childcare is my niche. Build a team that you can let them grow, because that's how you pass your baton. So if you're the only one in an organization that knows everything, then you're the only one in the organization that's running the organization. Just remember that. I'm going to say that once again for all the business
Yes.
owners.
That's powerful.
If you're
Please
the only
repeat.
one in the organization that understands the organization, then you're only one in the organization who's responsible for its growth. It's like Zakiyyah said, you have to share with your team. A lot of people tell me, oh, I don't want them to know how much we make. I don't want them to know that they have to. It's a company. Your financials are out there. You know, at the end of the year, they can go see your taxes. So
Mhm.
you got to talk to your people, and you got to say, hey, we got to do better next year. We want to be sustainable. And so being secretive is not really a good way to manage. We all need each other. There's a fine line between active conversations and then gossip. I am one who's lasted this long in this industry because I do not gossip and I do not condone gossip. I have a team atmosphere where you can come and you can ask questions and you'll be
Right.
told the truth. But that truth has to come from the top so that you don't have to say, well, such and such told me, and then I went to Regina, and then what Regina said. Just come straight to the source. Always remember this, that we're in this field to make a difference for the little friends of ours. I call our little kids friends, yours, mine, and all over the world. Our little friends are counting on us. And they look at us every day. We're the superheroes in their lives. And so every day, would you want your superhero to look like they're upset to be there? Or would you want your superhero being like Miss Regina? They call me Grandma Gina now. I think it's really time. I'm getting old. I remember just being Miss Regina. Now I'm Grandma Gina. And Grandma Gina, I love, this is the biggest compliment for Grandma Gina. When I come to the school and they say, I love you, you're so silly. You know, as an adult, you might get offended if someone called you silly, but if a 5-year-old calls you silly, let me tell you, you made it. So that means that in their world, you're making a difference. So all the things we do, all the money we make, all the changes we make, all the buildings you buy, all the things you grow, none of that makes a difference if you don't touch those little people's hearts. And you do that through your leadership. So just remember this today, your leadership is valuable, it's important, and you are the only person that can keep you in the game. I know a lot of people want someone to push them along and make them better and make them better. But I'll tell you, there were many days where Regina Miller had to say, Regina, you're doing this because Regina wants to. And then I get up and do it all over again. I couldn't wait for someone to make me happy. I had to go make others happy.
That's
So
wonderful.
those are my bullet points.
Okay, Zakiyyah, I know I should just start with you and pass that, but
No
what's your
worries.
jewel? What's your jewel?
In our last 30 seconds here, I would only say happy workers work harder. It pays off, starting with myself. If I'm happy, I can work harder. If anyone else is happy and has their needs met, they can work harder.
That's absolutely unbelievable, and I love that. I'm just going to quickly share my screen here with everybody. I apologize for the sloppiness, but I couldn't get it to show up all together. Looks like we've got Tony back on board. Tony, welcome back. Just wanted to
You guys had the most important part. You had Zakiyyah and Regina and Nicole. So I'm very happy that even though my internet crashed, we got the information across to you. So back to you, Nicole.
All right. Well, just a quick little pop up here on, Inspire Care 360. If you'd like to learn more about us, we've got our website, our customer service. I have put my email in, but wow, Zakiyyah and Regina, what a great way to spend a Tuesday afternoon with you guys and hearing your stories and making most of us get a little teary-eyed and pulling on those heartstrings. But stories is what we deal with every day, right? Kids tell the stories, teachers tell the stories, we tell the stories. So thank you for sharing your stories on leadership and, all your little tidbits of information and gems that I'm sure, the comments were just blowing up. So, you guys were absolutely unbelievable and a very valued part of our day. So thank you so much for being a part of our webinar today.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah,
You're
thank
welcome.
you, Tony.
Great.
All right.
Thank you, ladies. I truly appreciate it. And Nicole, again, thank you very much for taking the reins. It demonstrates your leadership within our organization. So for all of you out there, if you are interested to, we do have a leadership development that we actually offer. And I'm not sure if there's a slide there, Nicole, for you, but there is leadership development program that we offer as part of IC 360. And it is something that you can learn more about if you reach out to the information that was provided to you. But with that said, it doesn't look like you have it in your deck there, so not a problem at all, Nicole. For everybody else, I would like to thank you all very much for attending. And sorry about the challenges we had, but have a very nice day. Take care, everybody.
Yes. Bye-bye.